if you imagine highlights in your life, if you imagine just you had to sum up your life, if you met an alien who'd come from outer space and they were like, listen, tell me about you, tell me about your life, the greatest times in your life, what would you say, honestly and personally, like you were on, let's not go, you're on your deathbed, but you're not, you're lying there and you're thinking back over some of the highlights of your life and your career. You personally, what are they? Where are you? Where are we with you now? What are you doing?
Well, I mean, family aside, because that's obviously, the most important thing. But doing events, so the Goodwood Festival of Speed, I've done a lot of hosting with Michelin for that. And also I helped launch the BMW M5 this year. So the first time anyone saw the M5 in the flesh, I was there hosting it, which was all those lovely things. I've managed to, I was at Land Rover when they had the last old school Defender go off the line, and
were you there for that?
I was there. I was hosting that with Quentin Wilson, and the last Land Rover came off a Land Rover Defender came off the line, and there were 1,000 people there, all staff. Everyone was in tears. It was incredibly emotional. So all these little key elements of motoring history that I've had a tiny little touch on.
And I know we're at a motor show, so it would make sense for you to say motoring things in answer to that question. But genuinely speaking, I know you're a petrol head through and through. In terms of your life, do they figure highly? Is that something you will always remember, being there for that last Defender to roll off? Is that an important moment for you?
Yeah, I think anything to do with cars, because, I mean, also my racing career. So I started racing karts when I was 12, and those moments when I'm in the van with my family going to Rye House at Hertfordshire or, anywhere all around the country, those magical moments as well, coming home with a trophy, being exhausted, going to school the next day.
I'll never come home with a trophy, and I admit that. It's the one thing I wish I had gone down a different route in that sense to some extent. But coming home with a trophy when you're at a young age, whatever, what does it feel like?
Oh, it's so bad. Has anyone here won even a rosette or anything in running or anything like that? Have you won awards?
Okay.
A few, yes, yeah.
We're not talking about cycling proficiency, though,
I'd call that a win.
Okay, do you actually?
Yeah.
Okay.
I love that up there. But it's because you've gone through so much effort to do this race.
Yeah.
I mean, I won a Maserati race. I was the first woman in the history of Maserati to win a race for Maserati at the 2004 British Grand Prix.
Yeah.
It was a support race. And I stood on the top step of the podium where Schumacher stepped a couple of hours later. And it was incredibly rewarding. So whenever you've gone through the build-up to any race.
What is it, but the emotions of that? I mean, it's the emotion that interests me, it's the psychology of this stuff that interests me. Walking up, there are certain moments in my life when I can remember certain achievements, nothing on that sort of level, but things that are important to me. When you're walking up onto the top step of that podium, what is it? What's going on in your head? Are you trying to capture it? Are you trying to remember it already because it's live and you know this is going to be a big day for you? Or what do you think?
I think because you don't really think about it because you're so in the moment anyway you're so mindful immediately of what is going on.
So does your body just take over and your head's not there? Are you just being put, go on, you're on, go, and you're like,
no,
okay.
It's a bit about you. It's euphoria. It's utter, you're being taken along in the sheer joy, relief, ecstasy, tiredness in a way, because relief that you've achieved something incredible. It's joyous, totally joyous, and to see the people around you smiling and cheering, and it's intense joy, really.
And when you go from that, when you're the focus of attention and you've got all these people cheering you and you did it, when's the calm? And how does it feel to go from that to silence and calm? Is it on the way home in the car? Is it in the hotel?
And I think this is, it was a pattern when I raced karts. So when we raced karts, in the VW transporter van with the cart in the background, and my mum and dad and my brother and sister, and you go to the race, you have the fantastic result, or not.
Yeah.
But when you do get the fantastic result, then it's in the 2-3 hour journey home that you decompress and you chat it through. And it's that I really loved that because I really connected with my family, just talking it through. Do you remember that? Oh, you on that corner, I did that. And
really?
It's really lovely.
So you analyse the whole damn thing?
Yes, yeah. So
and will anyone criticise you? Just once. Would your dad say you messed up on that corner?
Yeah, my dad would. Dad say, you know what, next time, why don't you try that? Yeah.
Or would you take it? Or I've just won, Dad, shut up, I won.
No, I took it because, he was my mechanic, my taxi driver, he was everything. But when I started racing cars from the age of 17 onwards, then that, that didn't
Who do you thank for your career and your successes?
Well, I think I just was so lucky that my dad was in the British karting team when he was a teenager, and he became a farmer. And on the farm, we had his old kart chassis. He stuck a lawnmower engine on it when I was about 11. I went up and down the farm in it, and I was like, Dad, this is really cool. I really like it. Rye House is a racing circuit in Hoddesdon in Hertfordshire. That was my local track. We went there. I had to go in a proper car, and I was like, Dad, this is fantastic. Can we do it? If he'd have played golf or done something else, I would never have had that door opened to me. My sister, I've got a slightly older sister, she had the same opportunity, wasn't interested, didn't take to it. Whereas I did. And I just feel that, that's why I'm so passionate. If anyone here has got any, daughter, neighbour, anyone, and you have got an interest in cars, just open that door to somebody, because they might never have that opportunity to do it.
So when you've got a win and you're up there winning, what percentage of that win do you owe to your dad?
Yeah, a fair amount. But depends if there's money involved. 50%, I mean, if there's prize money, Dad's like, well, I'll take 100%. No. I don't know, because it's all part and part. It's all sort of a mixture of what I am and who I am, and it's not just me. It's my mum as well, and my brother. He races as well. It's that whole blend, whole mix. Yeah.
Because I think that I was saying to Fuzz earlier on. I've been talking to Anthony Hamilton, and in my mind, I don't know them well enough. I don't know Lewis and Anthony well enough. But in my mind, as a parent of 5 girls, or 4, and another one coming in 2 weeks, and my phone is on ring. If my phone rings, by the way, it's because my wife's giving birth, so I'm out of here. Okay. Anyway, but number 5. Number 5, girl number 5. But. I mean, the thing for me is, I think with Hamilton, with Lewis and his dad, I'd say, as an observer looking in, I'd say it feels like it's a 50-50 thing. Because when you look at the way Lewis has achieved it, what he's done, none of this would have happened without his father. And I'm noticing this common denominator between success stories like yourself, like Hamilton, like any of these people. There's always a mum and a dad, or mum or dad in the background, which is the one, because how many kids actually want to go out and do this all the time and want to live and die by it? To become an expert at anything, you've got to break through that. I don't want to be here. I want to be out with mates, Dad. I want to be out on a push bike. I want to be doing this. So you've got to be forced to a degree, haven't you, to do this stuff?
Well, I think it's where you've got to be careful, because if you've got 5 children in a couple of weeks' time, how are you going to decide, you've got a really good karter, or you've got a really good tennis one, and what are you going to do? Schlep the whole family along just so that one of them can live their dream? That, I think, is a problem I hope I'm never going to have. So love you both kids equally.
When you think back about, with your dad encouraging, or your mum, whoever it was, your dad in this particular case, encouraging to do what you did, do you think, and this is a question you might have a quick answer for, do you think that the way that he encouraged you would be acceptable these days? I'm not saying that it wasn't then, but what I'm saying is people have to be very careful about encouraging their children these days, don't they? They have to be, things are a little bit different. Like, when I was encouraged to get into things or to do things, it was done not with a raised hand, but it was done with no, you're doing this, whatever it happened to be. You are going to go upstairs, you are going to study, you are going to get your GCSEs. And I actually now thank my parents for the fact they were forceful with a tearaway. I was a troublemaker, not a bully in any way. I had plenty of friends, and I had a great time at school. I was just always up for the laugh. Whatever it was, I'd be the one to do something stupid. But I did need discipline at home to push me on a certain route. Was it the same for you?
Well, I think, ask any child who loves cars, would you like to go racing? It's a straightforward yes. So there was never any pressure to do anything. But what I did need was just encouragement, just to get, those times where I didn't think I was quick enough, or I wasn't doing a corner right or something. They were the times which is like, you can do this. We can walk it through. This is the correct line. You can do it. Go and do it.
Right.
It was that just factual, being factually correct, and a slight bit of encouragement. Really, I was straight out there every week. Please, can we go? Let's go.
So we've got you on stage up here now. You're on stage. You're chatting to me. You're in front of of an audience. But if you're in a car and you're driving, are you a very different animal? Because I've seen some moves that you've pulled, and the guts you've got to have. Are you a different? If we suddenly ripped you out of the car and stuck you here now, and you're in race mode, would you?
Totally different. If I was in a car on my own on a track, it's a different thing, because you're so selfish and focused, and all you can see and hear, and you're just breathing. It's just you. It's one of the most mindful sports you could ever do, because you can't daydream in any way. When you're at the start of a race, you are there. you can hear yourself breathing, you can feel your heart going, and you're just focused on the lights. And as soon as the lights go down, that's it. You can't write what's going to come, but you could just react and try and manipulate, where you can put your car to be the fastest.
So, I mean, as human beings, we have the ability to do many different things, but in this moment, you're saying, I'm just a machine that drives, nothing else. So can you keep thoughts out? If you're thinking about one of your kids or their results at school, can you? No, I'm not thinking
It's such a good point, because as soon as you let something in, particularly if you're a mum or a father, and the kids get involved, then you just think, oh, what am I doing? Driving a car at 150 miles an hour, what an idiot, on a track, obviously.
Yeah.
So that does become a different thing. But I raced a Mini a couple of years ago, and I raced with my brother, and it was the first time ever we had raced a car together. He was leading the championship, I was doing it just as a one-off. So he was at the front and I was sort of position 10, so halfway in the grid. And it was so bizarre because I knew he was in front of me at the start, but I just focused on me, and that was it. And then towards the end of the first lap, I just thought, I'm going to look ahead and see how Charlie's doing. So I did. I glanced up and I was like, oh yeah, he's in the lead. And then I got back down again, and that was it. But it was really bizarre that I took my head away from my game, which I've never done
really
in a race before. Really, yeah.
Because I wonder what, having somebody in front of you or somebody behind you, where would you rather be? Would you? And the nerves of being out front, it's like, I can't compare it to anything really, other than track days I've done. I've been out on tracks with fuzz, this and the other. But is it like that feeling, when you're swimming out at sea and you get a bit out and you're like, where is everyone? What do I do? I mean, is it like, what do you're
I suppose there's an element of that kind of, that adrenaline rush, yeah.
Are you always, when...
Well, when you're racing, you get a sixth sense of where people are. You can hear things, and you do definitely sense things. You've got a rear mirror if you're in a saloon car, and you've got some sort of tiny side mirrors, which are usually useless and had been ripped off.
Yeah.
But you know what's...
Do they get...
You can feel a bit, people sort of starting to nudge you a bit. You can feel it.
And when a wing mirror goes, I mean, do you just go up there again? There goes my wing mirror. I mean, is it chill? There's the wing mirror.
No, one particular, it was in the Minis, it was at Donington Park. So we were coming down the main straight, and then you've got sort of a 90-degree right-hander.
Yeah.
And I was rubbing with another guy just to, keep us both on the track. And it's just every man for himself, every woman for themselves.
Yeah.
He was pushing me to the left, I was pushing him to the right, the mirror went, but I stayed on and I got the position.
Right.
End of. It was,
And the people you're racing against, be honest with me, do you hate them when you're out there? Do you have to set them in your head as the enemy? Yeah. Do you?
It's really difficult when you race with friends. That is quite tough. And I look at the Formula One drivers and I wonder quite, how they do it at their top level. But but you, instead of thinking of them as your friend, you think, I know this driver, I know they're hard, I know that driver, I know I can push them a bit.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably the same.
And do you study what other people, when you're about to take a race or whatever it is, do you study the way they drive, where they're likely to attack?
No, well, you not necessarily in that much detail, but who's leading the pack. You know your top 5 drivers, or who's got a slight reputation.
Yeah.
To who's
So how many? If your mind was actually in words, as we think in words. How many of the words that you're thinking when you're driving are swear words?
If I'm being filmed on telly during the race, okay,
it's not.
That's quite hard, because it's so difficult to concentrate on racing and talking. Okay, that is a really difficult thing to do. But in a race, the only time I open my mouth is a little blue, whatever. Yeah, really. Yeah,
and
maybe 2 words per race, and a race can last for 20 minutes.
So what for you has been your greatest success on the track?
Oh, I don't know, because I've raced a Ferrari, which is a dream. I raced it at Brands Hatch, and I came second in one race and third in another against other Ferraris and 911s, Porsche 911s. That was really wonderful, because I waited a long time to race Ferrari. Equally, I've had success in a Honda Accord in a 24-hour race. I've raced a Citroen 2CV for 24 hours.
Really?
There were other people, thankfully, to take over. But all these lovely little spots have just been real highlights. So anything on really. And also my TV side of things, I managed to get a racing circuit all to myself for filming, and it can just go nuts and slide everywhere. I mean, how amazing is that, to have a track all to myself?
And what car would you choose? I mean, if you could have any car, what do you rate?
I would have anything big engined and rear wheel drive. Anything, so that I could just leave big skid marks everywhere. It's all about the fun then, right? Yeah,
like getting the rear end out.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. If I had
BMW or Porsche.
Yeah, either, or a big fat Mustang.
Right.
You know, anything, any big engine.
What's your daily?
I have a few.
Okay.
I have an electric Mustang Mach-E.
Got one of those.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
They
really
just let me one of those. And actually, if there was a car to convert you, it's a tricky place to be, isn't it? Because the rest of the other cars that I've got, they're all 5 litres, V8s or whatever, big engine cars. But then they give you one of those, and you try it, and you think, I'm not going to enjoy this. I refuse to. And you take it out, and before you know it, you're thinking, this is actually good fun.
It's quiet. It's refined.
Yeah.
It costs £10 to fill it up.
Yeah.
If you recharge at home.
Yeah. All the good points. I mean, it's happening. I've seen the transition. Last year when I was here, or the year before, if you asked me about EV, I was kind of like, no, it's not going to happen. I'm not getting into them. And then the Mustangs sort of converted me. Although I do find EVs more boring, the sound, the feel, the whole existence of a throbbing petrol, or even, dare I say it, some diesel engines, the M57 BMW engine, wonderful BMW, 3.5 or 3 litre twin turbo engine. What a great piece of kit. I do love them. The heart of it is missing with an EV, but it's kind of replaced with something else, isn't it?
Well, you need to go and drive the Hyundai Ioniq 5N.
Right.
That has got petrol sounds and gear changes, and it's an electric car, and it doesn't have a gearbox. It's blown my mind.
Do you think anyone will ever bring out a manual electric?
I don't know if the engineering side.
Well, instead
of
having hub motors, you'd have a Bellhausen in a gearbox and just the electric motor at the front, replacing the beating heart.
Well, that's what. Well, then you and Fuzz need to get on with that.
Yeah, that's it.
But I love to think that the future, though, is more to do with green fuel, renewable fuel, so that we can have it all in our petrol stations and just fill it up so that we can keep driving every single classic car and V10, V12.
Absolutely.
And then there's a space for electric as well.
5th gear.
Yes.
It's back.
Yes, yeah.
I mean,
tell us about your time on 5th gear.
Well, my time on 5th gear. So, how I ended up with the job. I mean, in terms of television, they were 2 of the most unenjoyable years of my life.
Okay,
I would rather be honest with you. Because I was doing a radio show in Birmingham at the time, and everybody knew that I was a petrol head, and I was married to my car. All the money I'd saved from doing my radio shows would go into rebuilding cars. Somebody once said to me, why don't you do a car show? Anyway, I did something called Britain's Worst Learners, a few other cars, bits and bobs. Then 5th gear in Birmingham, I was filming my radio shows in Birmingham, said, do you want to do an interview for 5th gear? And I was like, I'll never get that. I'll meet these gods, yourself, Tiff, all these people. I said to my wife at the time, I'm going to go along, meet these TV stars. I'm just some idiot off the radio. I'll go and have a crack. Met somebody called Tom Ford, and during the sort of like screen test for it, I thought, I'm never coming back here again. I was filming Balls of Steel, which is a Channel 4 comedy show at the time, and I just thought I was going to mess about. So I had this Tom Ford in a headlock, and I was just going like that on his head. Well, they were filming it, it was a pilot or whatever it was, or sort of a test reel, whatever they called it. And I was just like, shut up, I had him in a headlock. And he was looking at me like, what is this? This show's scripted. It's all on auto cue. And I was like, I'm not doing scripted. I'll never work scripted. Anyway, that went off to the channel, and then the channel, a guy called Ian Dunkley, who ran the channel at the time, said, we want that guy. And I got the phone call, and I was like, this is hilarious. Anyway, on the first day that I went through the door for my job at 5th gear, the guy said to me, just to let you know, we don't want you. We don't want you on this show. We've been forced to have you. And it was at that stage, right at that moment, I decided I was going to go off and do a bigger car show and do better. No disrespect to 5th gear, but that's when I went and did 2 years on that show, and they were like, here's your auto cue, it's written by an 18-year-old scriptwriter, as it was back then. And I was like, I'm a car guy, I don't need a scriptwriter. They went, no, it's being script written for you. So whenever I watch any of me on 5th gear, it's not me. It's an 18 or a 21-year-old scriptwriter that was being paid to be me. And I found that weird. So that gave me an introduction to television that I despised right there. And then I was like, I never want to do this show again. I did it for 2 years because it was interesting and I learned a lot about it. You're regretting asking me this question.
No, it's your experience of it. I'm really sad that somebody ever said to you to start with that they didn't want. That's really
that's what drives me as a person. When somebody says, and I think a lot of people are the same, when you're told you can't do something, when somebody says you will never be a pro racing driver, it'll never happen to you. Come back in 5 years and this young lady here will be a pro racing driver. Trust me, that's what drives a lot of people, and that is precisely, unfortunately for them, what drove me. So that's when I made it my sole mission to go out there and do another car show, which goes way over and above in terms of ratings this fifth gear show as it was at the time, dare I say it. And CAR SOS has become that. And I said when we started it, I made the point of saying, this has to be real. We don't need drama, we don't need script writers. I refuse to work on a show that needs script writers because we're doing up cars for people who are unwell, and we don't need to create drama for this show. What we're doing, we filmed 10 cars being restored in 9 months. Now that doesn't sound so bad, but when you think that's 0.9 of 1 month for one car, it's 3 weeks for a car, for a restoration. It's tiresome, and we're in the middle of it at the moment. It does take it out of you. But we don't need to write scripts. We don't need to make stuff up. And people often say to me, why do you do that in the early days? Why do you do that silly blagging? Why do you go in there and cause trouble? Well, the answer is when we first started doing that show, they said, we screamed, Fuzz and I knew Fuzz from our radio days. We were like, we just messed about, had a good time. And they said, you guys work well together. I said, well, we're mates anyway, so it makes sense. And they said, we want to do this show called CAR SOS, here's what you're going to do. And they said, right, let's talk budgets. We were like, yeah, go on, how much money have we got to restore this car? And they went, $4,000 per car. And we were like, we can't restore a car for $4,000. So Fuzz looked at me and I looked at Fuzz and I said, I'm going to go old school Sheffield where I grew up. I'm just going to go in there and start blagging things from people and annoying people so much so that they give us the wheels or whatever it was. And that's how it came about, because the alternative was the show wouldn't have happened. So that's why that was born. That's why in the early days when you see me come out there with some free whatever it was honest and it was real. And luckily for me, the show's done well enough now to the people that I upset in the early days by saying, I need these free wheels, I'm taking them anyway. Now they're all friends, because now they're the ones ringing me saying, can we come back on? I'm like, of course you can, because you were with us in the early days. So that's my fifth gear experience. And you won't be asking me that tomorrow.
Well, my fifth gear experience is very different.
I'm sure it is.
Which I'm pleased about. And I've never come across a script writer, so I'm
Have you not?
No, so I'm gonna go back in the.
What does that say about me then? They were like, this kid's capable, he needs a script writer. But you were doing the fun stuff. So fifth gear used to be me and Tom. Hello and welcome to fifth gear. Coming up on tonight's episode. It was all that. But and that was all on auto cue and this, that and the other. None of it was allowed to be just off the top of our heads or memorized in bullet points. It was all just, you're saying this. And then we'd cut to people having the good times, and that would be you out in a car sideways, and I'd be always sitting there going, when do we get to do this stuff? And we didn't, because we were studio based. Me and Tom were the sort of welcome to the show guys. So that's, anyway, carry on.
Well, yeah, so I've continued to be a complete and utter child and hooligan. So so we're back on air. So there's Jason Plato, me and Rory Reid are the sort of the three main protagonists.
I love Plato. He's a good driver, isn't he?
Yeah, he's two-time British touring car champion. Yeah. So, and Rory, of course, he's done his time on Top Gear and is now with.
And he's also an accomplished driver as well, isn't he?
Yeah. So we are looking at all the latest and greatest machines. And we're on air, I think, Discovery Channel in about a month's time. How
do you feel with the fact it's back? I mean, it's a British treasure, isn't it? That show's been around forever.
Well, the thing is, at the moment, there's no Grand Tour, there's no Top Gear, so we're flying the flag for any.
What have you got?
Stuff.
CAR SOS and Wheeler Dealers, they're the only two out there.
I know, exactly.
Bring it on. Let's see what you got. What have you just got? Plato?
Yeah.
Harris?
Yeah. We don't have Harris, no.
He's not sneaking?
Chris Harris, no, we don't have it, no. But just the three of us, we're pretty much the main.
What's new?
More of the lovely same, but all the new cars, the Ferrari Pure Sangue, new SUV, we took that against a Bentley up to Scotland, which has been good fun. The new Mustang Dark Horse.
Oh, have you driven the Dark Horse?
Driven that, yeah, that was lovely.
So let's get it straight. You're driving a Dark Horse and you're being paid.
I know, and I've managed to get away with this for quite a while.
It is.
I really know how lucky I am. I really, really do.
I do. Absolutely.
Every day.
So what would you say to anyone in the audience who's thinking, because the truth is, Vicki, I know, I'm 50 now, you're significantly younger
30.
than me, 30, but this has been your life, this is we're up to where we're up to. For anyone who's young and out there and thinking, I wouldn't mind a similar career path, I wouldn't mind having a shot at what you've done. And I remember being a young kid, sitting in an audience at motor shows, looking at drivers and thinking, I'm just never going to be you. I'm never going to achieve this. But the truth of the matter is, and I genuinely believe this, and I'm fed up of hearing people who have made it saying it's easy, you just need to be me. I'm not saying that. What I am saying is there is a route through for anyone to achieve what they want if they want it bad enough. What would you say to a young kid who's saying, I would love to have a shot at doing what you do. I'd love to become an influencer. How would you do it?
Passion. I absolutely have passion for
what does that mean? What's passion?
When you wake up, is it driving that you like to do? Do you want to go and get on a simulator, or do you want to go and do a young driver thing, which we've got outside?
Yeah.
At the age of 10, 12, 14, you can get behind the wheel of things for relatively cheap amounts of money. I think it's £10 for 10 minutes outside. You can get behind the wheel of an actual car. Then if you are passionate about writing, maybe start looking at your local newspaper. Can I write an article about cars or about my experience at the motor show? So if writing's your thing in cars, you can wrap it up in that. Or start a YouTube channel,
Right. Just
you
do
can
it.
do that. Yeah, exactly. Just get into it. But be led by your passion, because that will never falter.
And it doesn't matter if your passion happens to be
Car design or wheels or
anything.
Yeah.
Make your hobby your career, I think
Yes.
is the thing to do, isn't it?
Exactly. And I have done it. So it can be done.
Yeah.
It can be done.
Absolutely. Does anyone have any questions for Vicki? She's a national treasure. You are though. No, you can find that funny, but it's absolutely true. Look. Okay, here we go. A young man here. Cool dude with a suntan.
Hello, Vicki.
Hang on, we'll just get the mic turned on.
Hello.
Who's your biggest racing hero?
My biggest race hero? Well, there is a woman called Louise Aitken Walker, and she won the World Rally Championship, but the Women's World Rally Championship in the 80s, and I grew up watching her on TV, and she, for me, was a super, no nonsense, get it done. And she runs a very successful car dealership now in Scotland.
Have you met her?
Never met her, but I met her daughter. No, I'm telling a lie. I did meet her because thank you for reminding me. At Silverstone, they had a figure of 8 rally course track, and she was my handbrake puller. Because
Really?
So it was like a celebrity thing, and I didn't have the gumption. I didn't have enough oomph to pull the handbrake and steer around at the same time. So Louise was in the car with me. You had to have 2 people in the car, and so she was my handbrake.
What did you shout to? Now!
She didn't need telling.
Really?
As soon as I was beginning to turn, she was already on it.
Was it like, I'd have put it on there?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Of course I would have done the same.
Oh, thank you for reminding me. Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Do you know what? That's a good question. I suddenly came up with a television format there for a television show, which should be taking celebrities and getting them to meet their heroes. Because you forget that the Tom Cruises, the Jack Blacks, who are your celebs? Who did you grow up watching on telly or movies or driving or whatever it is?
It was Louise. It was also Tiff Needell.
Was it really?
Yeah, when I watched him on Top Gear, because he's about 10 years older than me.
He's a legend.
And then I ended up working with him, and he really is my television husband. Because I worked with him for so many years. So he was lovely. So he was.
What was it like when you first? So you watched Tiff, and then you met him. Do you remember the time you met him? Because he is what you expect. He is what you hope for, isn't he?
Yeah, I think he was just going sideways somewhere, and that was it. Yeah, I don't remember ever being I don't remember being awestruck or anything like that.
Tiff's not here.
He's so normal.
Yeah, he's not here. But the one thing I will say about Tiff is he's got some serious star quality. Just as a dude, he is just the coolest. I love Tiff. I remember one time we were doing 5th gear, the highlight of 5th gear for me was being driven home by Tiff. And he said, I'll drive you home.
God, Tiff on the road is very really bad.
He was driving the 750 BMW, which was specially made for him, this particular one. And we were sitting, I remember it, I might have mentioned this before, he was in the fast lane, and the car in front of me, he was literally 12 inches, doing about 90 on the M40, right up behind it. The bloke in front was just like that, giving him like that, almost touching on the brakes, just the brake thing. And Tiff was just like head sideways talking to me. Just like, so how are you finding work? Right up the butt of this car. Then undertakes it and skims around the front of it, almost taking his bumper off. And that was just chilling to Tiff. And I will never forget that, because I was holding onto my seat like, we're not on a racetrack. And he was just like, yeah, mate, so it's been an all right day at work, like that, round this car. And I just thought, you dude.
Yeah, I mean, he has raced Formula One and more sort of Le Mans type stuff. So passing at speed on a track that close is quite second nature to him.
Yeah. Any more questions? Any more? Hang on, we've got a question here.
True question.
Does F1 do enough for the automotive industry?
Does it do enough for the automotive industry? Oh, that's a really good question. Does F1? I would say. Yes, but it could do more. So it's got, the technology that it has produced. We get to get the results of it in our road cars. So more, better fuel economy, better turbos, better aerodynamics. They are also channeling, making a good job of doing renewable fuel, green energy, which I think they should just move faster and go bigger with, because I want that in the petrol stations.
Yeah. So F1 or WRC for you?
F1, because I'm a roundy girl, but I love watching the WRC.
What's more skilled?
Now that is an excellent question. I've had the privilege of being in the passenger seat with the late great Richard Burns and Conor McRae, so two of our world rally champions. So I've sat next to them both.
Everyone here was jealous. Are you jealous of that?
Yeah.
Side, McRae.
I honestly.
Back in his days, more people went to see that than went to see F1. F1 was like.
I know.
And what was more? Come on.
They were, just the car control is phenomenal, because they are skirting around edges of mountains with not much, to keep them safe apart from their own talent.
Yeah.
And that is the speed as well with which things come up, and it's not the same track time and time again. So I might actually have to say maybe just pipping it WRC drivers.
Well, I tend to agree with that massively. Having done some rally training, I mean, because when you're out on the tracks in F1, you're on the same surface ultimately, aren't you, all the time? But with rallying, the thing I couldn't believe was how you had to completely adapt your driving style. Look at they just gauge the size of those stones. It's like, what? It was just, I could not believe it. So it is. You talked about the sixth sense. I felt like with WRC, there's a seventh sense. There's something else, something weird that you just develop over time. Are there any more questions for Vicki from the audience here? You can tell Vicki's being very honest and very open. I've got one for you, because we're all looking at it. Tell me about this photo.
So this photo was a fifth gear item, and I was driving a truck or something. What was it? I think it was in Romania, and it was a big, jacked up, big off-road machine on an off-road course. And as you can tell,
like
I was having the time of my life.
I mean, was that a natural photo? Was that like, Vicki, we're going to take the photo for your press still here. Look up there and go.
God, I take photos so badly. So this was definitely a shot that I didn't know was being taken. But I mean, this for me, my smile and my love for what I do is so. I feel so lucky, because honestly, I could be driving a milk float and I'd be having a lovely time. It's fun.
Something I can guarantee that you've never been asked before, and you probably won't be again because you'll refuse to. Tell me about the rings that you're wearing.
Just the engagement and wedding ring, really, and then an eternity ring.
Okay.
I'm really bad with. I managed to break both rings. I managed to break diamonds.
Did you break diamonds?
Yeah.
What with? Diamonds?
I do not know, but I've broken both rings and taken them back to, and they're not cheap rings, unless my husband was lying.
Okay.
And took it back to jeweler, and they've never seen rings broken, never seen diamonds broken. How I've managed to break them.
And what happened? How the hell did you break a diamond? You need a diamond to break a diamond.
Yeah,
something tougher.
I know. I don't. But I'm quite physical, and when you're in a car and you're driving along, I don't do driving Miss Daisy. I get in and potentially, bash some roll cages or something, I don't know, but I do go through rings.
So I'm processing the
Diamonds.
materials that you're hitting there. You're hitting,
Metal.
not a problem
I
for
know.
diamond. All these things,
Yeah,
not a problem. But when they're on your fingers, it's a problem for them.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah. I've never shared that with anyone
That's
before.
great, isn't it? You've smashed diamonds.
The diamond
Shall we
smasher.
have a round of applause for the diamond
Oh, no.
smashing? Vicki Butler-Henderson, please. That's great.
Thank you for sitting and enduring and being lovely. So thank you very much. I hope you're all having a lovely day. Thank you.